Jason, I heard that when you really wanted this role and that you sent in audition tapes and stuff.
Yes.
Did you know this project was going on for a while? Or?
I sort of did. Brad has been really. I've seen Brad over the years since Snatch, and he's been really sort of supportive. And so when I come to LA, if he's in LA, he kind of hooks up with me, and that's how I met Fincher through Brad. And I kind of knew them a bit socially, but you know, Brad's an amazing actor, and I'd always meet up with him and just be, you know, Brad's silly English mate. And I thought, I'd really like to sort of, you know what I mean, show them. I didn't expect to get anything, but I just wanted to show them that that's what I did too, kind of thing. And so I managed to sneak a script, and then Lorraine, who's the casting director, kind of let me send this tape in, and that's it, really. The rest is history. But I was desperate to show them that I could do it. I didn't at all expect to get the part.
And the role, because did you have to practice, or how did you prepare for the accent and
There's an amazing guy called Tim Monick who helps a lot of people in Hollywood, and some great actors have sort of thanked him publicly. And you know, he's a fantastic dialect coach, and he sort of does that quickly. He sort of does that thing where he doesn't go through the script with you. You go through letters from old generals in the Civil War, and you do all that stuff. So you get really familiar with it, and then before you know it, you're speaking like that, and it's a trick, but it makes you look much more talented than, you know. It makes the role look harder than it actually is, because he's always there, and he's really, really amazing.
Does the accent kind of creep in? Did you have to go through also a vocal coach to kind of?
I did, and I love it. I love doing an accent because I feel like it helps you find something in the character, and it's a very specific thing. Like, you'll be standing on set and saying something, oh, that O has to be more ooh, and you know, move your tongue here when you're doing it, and then you have to take that into a take. But it's a great thing to do, and I think with mine, what we wanted to do was try and find a more modern sound. I was really impressed with Kate and Brad about how they allowed their sound to shift through the decades, because that is what has happened. Somebody who spoke in the 50s, whether it was a regional accent or not, is a completely different sound to that person in their 90s or 80s speaking in the modern world, because sound changes. And I thought they did such a beautiful job, so subtly over time, doing that. And what you'll find today is that it's really rare to find somebody who has a very pure dialect. If you're playing a modern person, the influences of television and all the rest of it are so strong that their sound changes.
Have elements of these lessons kind of creeped into your normal, like all of a sudden and all of a sudden these like the New Orleans accent like creeps in, or does that happen?
New Orleans you weren't actually there very much, were you? In New Orleans, but I mean, it was I think New Orleans the film is a tribute to that city, really, and you know, it's that city has had such a big influence on my life. I mean, apart from the fact that I listen to New Orleans radio on the computer and watch the blooming Saints play, and I don't even like American football, but I think it's my favourite place in the world, apart from London now. And the accent, that whole southern thing, once you've experienced it for the first time, like I did, is you never shake it off. It's always part of you after, I think, forever.
Julie, I feel like your character is a little bit more difficult because you're basically playing to a woman lying down the whole time. And so as an actor then, how do you play off that? Because, you know, obviously Kate is acting too, but they're, you know, visually it's just like, you're just talking to, you know, it could have been a log. I mean,
I think as an actor, whatever you're doing, it doesn't matter if you're walking down a corridor, as you were talking about it previously, you're walking down a corridor, you're sitting talking to somebody who's dying in bed, what you're playing is the situation. And for me, yes, there was a sort of restraint, and I think it was quite difficult from a technical point of view in terms of how do we make this feel different this time, otherwise it could have felt, you know, sort of repetitive. But the constraint of the room is very similar to somebody who is watching their parent die. If you're with a parent for 3 or 4 days, a week, or however long that process is going to be, there is that, and we're in this room, and they're stuck in it. So whatever that restraint is actually feeds into what you're doing as an actor, hopefully.
Being a part of a project like this where death kind of overshadows, you know, every character that kind of goes through Benjamin's life, or, you know, or even tertiary like your character. I mean, did you conjure up any memories of your own personal stuff that kind of you brought to the table when you were saying certain lines? And if so, can you maybe tell any stories?
What I loved about it was how David managed to hit something that is sort of beyond commercial in tone, it's universal, because all of us, once you reach a certain point in your life, have experienced that to some level. I can remember my grandfather died at 97. He was very much a father figure in my life, and we would get this call from the nursing home, it's going to happen tonight, or it's going to happen. So I remember rushing down one point, and there were a bunch of us gathered around his bedside, and he had a great sense of humor. And I remember my cousin saying, Gramps, is there anything you feel like you want to say? And he said, yeah, I want to know what you're all doing here. It's 2 a.m. in the morning, you're all crazy. And of course he didn't die for another few months. But what I love about the tone of the film is, yes, it's because he's aging backwards. You have the sense of death, but he's also born a child. So there's a lot in it that's about it's a celebration of life. And because he's born as a child, he's got all that openness and vulnerability of a baby to absorb the wisdom that comes from people at the end of their life, and how that changes him and makes him this kind of wonderful observer of life. So it does press buttons in terms of loss and grief, but it also is this kind of wonderful celebration of life.
I think also that, you know, what I love about it is it's a film for anyone who has a father, you know, which is pretty much all of us. And it's so...
That actually would be all of us.
It is pretty much all
Yeah.
of us, isn't it? And it's just amazing, because all those... There's loads... I mean, I'm a big softie, and like, you know, in the UK we don't go to counselling or have any... So we go to the movies and cry a lot, and that's what we do instead of going to therapy. And, you know, like even in Ice Age, you know, when they get the kid and they give it back to the sort of caveman, I'm like, he's a little baby, he's giving it back to his dad. And this film is full of that. It's just so full of that emotion. And for me, the scene when I tell him he's my son, you know, and I could just close my eyes and see my own father, even though I was in his body, and it was that Brad was me. It was just so moving. And I just think anyone that has any sort of relationship, good or bad, and both, which we all have to a degree, it really helps. It really helps to watch this movie. I think it's great.